I want to move a little to. I think there was something that one of you all mentioned a little earlier about how if you're a CMO in India, it's kind of like you're a global CMO because India itself feels like a bunch of countries kind of put together, right? So it's a fascinating point, and let me elevate you all to global marketing head roles right now, and get you all to picture this country as a bunch of countries altogether, which is reflective of its actual culture and actual truth and all that, right? Now, in my head, I've always felt like the amount of federalization that is in marketing overall, there should be more federalization in decision making, etc., and where the power structures really are with a brand. I know we do regional, and Amit, I'd love your take on this because I think Britannia has done tons and tons of great regional work over decades, right? But is there glass ceiling to that as well, like beyond regional festivals? It feels like we are leaving a lot of money on the table
as
by
far as
not
regional work is concerned.
Absolutely.
No, I fully agree with you. In fact, I feel that regional now has deepened like never before. Never before. So today, if you're just, let's say if you're if you're scrolling, the amount of content that you will come across, which is not just at a state level, it could be at a dialect level. If you look at the creator ecosystem that's coming from, forget India 2, from India 3, India 4, India 5, and which is about a particular part of a particular state in a particular dialect, it's phenomenal.
Right.
It's phenomenal, right? And you introduced us to some of that work, right, for Tamil Nadu, where we used to look at Tamil Nadu as one state, and you said, no, but there's 30 plus dialects. And we did this one program where we did the same film but recorded in multiple Tamil dialects. India is phenomenal, and now this regional, it's not just regional pride. People want to express themselves. People want to wear who they are on their sleeves. And if we had X number of states yesterday, today the cultures that are really mushrooming are many, many more. So it's a huge opportunity. And especially if you're a regional brand, it's a wonderful time to be a regional brand, because you have the creator ecosystem, you have the media to support regional, there is reception, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you would share this with me, but the most number of movies that I've seen in the last 12 to 18 months have been Malayalam movies.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Then they're not I mean, I don't look at the West for entertainment anymore. It's all coming out of one state.
This is southwest of the country.
And just southwest. Absolutely.
Love it.
Prolific. Absolutely.
Love it. Okay. How has the talent within marketing gotten more diverse over the last 10, 20 years? Is the majority still B-school grads from prestigious Indian schools who kind of, make it into marketing and rise up the ranks? Do you all see more people who've kind of come in from various different backgrounds right now? What is the impact that the diversity of the backgrounds of the talent in marketing over the last 15, 20 years, what's that done?
Yeah, that's a question that's really close to my heart. I think, is your question only about the diversity of talent? Is that what you are?
I think you're going to answer this
problem. But I want to preface it by saying that I actually have a bit of disagreement on this statement on whether marketing is subjective or not. A piece of creative work and how you embrace it, how you receive it, can be subjective, because we're all very different human beings. So as a CMO, I may receive a piece of creative work and process it very differently from Mayur, right? That can be subjective. But marketing is not equal to advertising, first of all. Marketing as a whole is not subjective. It is very, very objective. Yeah. It's just that it's equally very, very hard to do. And so if you've done fantastic marketing, and if it's not yielded the business or the brand results that you are seeking, there is no subjectivity. There is absolutely no subjectivity to that. So it's extremely objective. But to get marketing to work, to deliver what you want to deliver, is very, very hard. So even after spanning X number of years in the function or in the discipline, if you ask any CMO to talk about their 3 best, they will be, because they're very, very hard to come by, where everything falls into line and it just rockets off. It's very, very hard and rare. Now, coming back therefore to talent, it's also connected with this point around subjectivity and objectivity, because we've, I think, also glamorized marketing way too much.
Way too much?
Way too much. So when you have people joining in, young people joining into marketing, there is a glorified notion of what a market, so it's not just about shooting the films. It's, all of us here would agree, 80% of it is hard grind every day, which is not as, and I'm sure that's true for every creative endeavor, whether you're writing or you're acting or you're creating music. All of them will tell you, those strokes of 10% of inspiration, they'll come far and few in between. So that's one. The second is that, is there diversity? I don't think so. And that's because, and at least at Britannia, we've tried to change that by bringing in people from different industries. We've always had a great representation of women, always leaning more towards them than men. And it's not just a nice thing to say, but it's also reflective of the consumer base. But I think in marketing, what we miss the most in diversity is, one is, of course, representation of genders. But the bigger diversity that we're missing is representation of town strata, of middle class, of lower middle class, of people who speak different languages. Are we okay to have someone in the team who cannot speak English but can only speak that vernacular language? Because that's the consumer who we're selling to. But if we're not okay, but if we want only English-speaking people around us, then I don't think it's truly, then we don't have truly diverse teams, MBA or not.
Fair enough. We'll let you go at this point. Okay.
Otherwise,
safe flight. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So now that Amit has put on his invisibility cloak, I just need to go around the room with the same question again. So Sriram, I'd love to hear your take on this.
It would be presumptuous of me to comment on the last couple of decades, considering my total experience is lesser than that. But from my limited vantage point, I was at HUL when we rolled out this thing called Winning in Many Indias, which was more, breaking the country into smaller micro markets and focusing on each one of them individually. And that was a tremendous growth driver for the company. And my learning from that, I actually got my first marketing job because I was a Tamilian. They needed someone to run hammam.
நீங்க தமிழா?
ஆமா.
ஐயோ நம்மள ஹிந்திலயே பேசணும் இல்ல இங்கிலீஷ்லயே பேசணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்கல்ல இங்க.
Okay, I understood.
3 of us. So my super boss actually told me, oh, you're a Tamilian. Okay, I'm glad that you're on hammam because we need a Tamilian there. I went in and I realized that no one on the agency side was Tamilian. And that was my first ask, saying, let's put some Tamil people here if that's the brand. Hammam sells almost exclusively in one state. So we said, we got to fix this. And as I turned hammam around, I actually realized that there is so much about Tamil Nadu that even I didn't know. In North India, you eat roti, so you need maybe few fingers to eat your food with hand. If you're having rasam and rice, you need your entire palm. And hence, hand washing requirement is very different in Tamil Nadu versus what it is in the rest of the country. And one of the richest states in the country had abysmal hand washing penetration. And this was the reason. And it took us a huge amount of work to realize
Superb insight.
What should have been obvious to, as a Tamilian who eats predominantly with his hands. But it took me 2 months of consumer work to arrive at something that I probably knew when I was younger. So what we saw then was just spending time in local micro markets with focus to understand those micro markets just enabled a great release of energy, because finally consumers started feeling heard. They started feeling seen, that, oh yeah, here's someone who actually knows, exactly what I go through. And my honest feeling is no matter how much we do it, we are still way off from what we should be doing, because corporate headquarters are usually in one part of the country, and that's where most brand managers also spend most of their time. Most agency folks also are co-located there. So very few consumer home visits are happening. Video conferencing takes bulk of home visits out, and you just do it on video. You don't get that flavor, and some of it you can only know if you're in the home with the consumer, spending time with them, speaking in the local language. So I think as much as we do it, we'll just be able to serve consumers better and unlock a lot of business value doing that as well.
Well put.
Fair enough. Where are we on the? I'd love to hear about the education and the job being like jointed at the hip. Is that even true anymore? Is the B school graduate still the main archetype who becomes a successful marketer?
Honestly, I don't know what sort of chase is in any form of that. Like, it needs to be coming from what's your end goal. What are you chasing? Diversity, if at all. I think what Sriram said, I think it was so refreshing to hear that you need to look at people from a certain area to solve for those problems. I think we need to know what's the end goal of anything that you're doing. Maybe B school is a starting point to figure some, some goal. Like, you need to be able to put numbers together. You need to be able to put large project management hat on. All of that, maybe that works. So again, it's a little tail wagging the dog sort of an exercise. We should kind of be very clear of what we need to, achieve, and only then we should kind of ask these loaded questions in some way, right? I don't know. I don't know an answer to this.
I do. Shagun, you want to answer first?
I actually am curious to hear what you have to say.
Amit is not here, but I have to stop from profanity. Okay.
In memory of Amit, we shall continue to not use profanity.
His kid will not
Yes.
watch beyond this. So
Well,
he's not here anymore.
there you go.
So we have one less viewer, so you can.
Done everything. I really have.
It's like you're
Right.
breathing out, man.
Fuck.
It's like you've
No,
held
so-
your breath in for an hour.
I think the question of diversity can be answered with geography, can be answered with gender, education, and so on, right? I feel like, is it answered with experience? Is that, it should have that leg to it. And I did gaming first. You asked me about it, like, what the fuck were you doing gaming? I did. I don't know what else to do. I'm a literature graduate, not a B school graduate at all, right? Then I did advertising, like a bunch of us have, right? For like a whole lot of time before I ended up being heading the global brand for Oyo, right? Which actually helped me work. I think I lucked out, and I married a marketer who's as left-brained as it. I'm sleeping with an Excel sheet. I have no choice but to learn it. She literally taught it to me, right? And I literally learned to apply it by being in meeting after meeting with an office full of McKinsey, which I was, and then working with them across various markets. So I didn't just do the global market that India is. I just got the opportunity to do that, right? And then I went and by doing an actual CMO role for QSR. Which is crazy. I kid you not, because I know that there's a digital where you have your ad running for 7 seconds, and I know what it costs today, right? And I know what a national campaign takes to mount, and I know what IPL gets you, because I've done 4 weeks of it. I could only afford that, and I just picked the weekends because that was the high point of our business. And I was dead doing DSRs every day, and SDLW was my life. Same day last week, locally you have no choice but to go there and meet people. If you're running 850 stores and opening a store a day, pretty much, which we were, by the way, in 2023, you have to get down and dirty and get it done. And local store marketing is of huge importance, right? Because the shit that you're putting out there with Vishwanath and Anand and all is all well and good, but no one fucking knows how to make a sub. They don't know teriyaki from teri.
you wanted to use that line
For
in the
like
ad,
a long time, I've been waiting for
and
someone
it's
to
been
ask me.
2 years and you've gotten to use it. Congrats,
So-
you've gotten it out.
My point is not about what I've done. I simply say, my point simply is that, and in Swiggy, by the way, we have to go meet consumers every month. We have like a target of number of people. We go to their houses and meet them.
Yeah.
We can't do video calls. We can, but I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. My point is, it just helps perhaps, maybe I lucked out with all of these experiences. Maybe some of us don't get those experiences, but we get an education. And hopefully that covers for it. I'm not so sure. Right? I think education and classic marketing, you asked a question earlier about why do a lot of marketers, why they're not interested in communication. I think they're consumed by everything else. There's so much to do. Even if you're interested in it, like when I was in Subway, I was spending like 7% of my time on communication.
Right.
I was in DSRs all the time.
Right.
Right? I'm not doing that again. So, but my point is, it just helps, brings me to perhaps where I am, and it makes me a lot more well-rounded, just like she has very diverse experiences. And you have very diverse experiences, and you have, I think that's what we should talk about when we talk about
Yeah, I think it's
diversity.
very relatable because I'm a physics graduate and I never thought that I will end up into anything to do with marketing.
You can explain Tenet to us then.
It's sort of. So I think marketing has been very accommodating, especially in my situation, because it was quite a discovery process. And like I said, I actually started as a call center executive.
Wow.
For Shadi.com.
Wow.
And you know, sometimes they would, back then it was all analog, right? We are sitting behind an interface and we are the ones who are taking the calls. And the guys who are on live chat, like the ones who are our customers or potential grooms and brides and all that, when they come onto the chat and we take up the question saying that, hello sir and all that, they used to think that we are the brides or, yeah, you know, hum hi wo profile wale. Chat wale. So they would start
Catfishing long ago.
with, yeah, they used to ask questions like ASL back then.
What are you
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So अब तो वो AI काम कर रहा है. Call center AI is something that's taking over that particular realm as well. So anyways, I started my career with that. And it was all under Anupam Mittal, and I think there was just so much to learn in that organization. And sitting as an HR after that, like it was a distress situation where I got acquired as an HR to manage a blog, an internal blog, because I also had some bit of IT skills. I had worked on WordPress as a personal project and all that. So it was more like an opportunistic move. And it so happened that the department got empty and they are like, can you do it? Can you pick it up and do it? And I think that's the approach required in marketing as well. There's no job description. At least over a period of time, I have realized there is, जो जेडी आती है ना, वो काम नहीं होता है तुम्हारा. Sometimes it's so much more around it. So if you're curious, if you're open for it, you pick it up, you figure it out, you deliver it, I think you can do it. It's more of like discovery process. I think when I joined the agency experience that I have, I came from tech background. I used to work for a German company which was into ad tech. From there, getting and working on to Unilever as one of the largest, I think that was boot camp for me in marketing. Working with 58 different brand marketers over there, working on those different brands, everything coming in from new age to really traditional approach. And them teaching me that tech mein kuch nahi rakha hai, what is it solving for the consumer, wo socho. So it was like, they really pushed, every job experience has really pushed. And that's why I say marketing has been really open. Because I'll tell you, my team back then, and programmatic was new, real-time bidding was new. I had a doctor, like a Ayurvedic doctor on my in my team. I had someone who came from traditional television reporting as part of my team because I needed reporting skills as well. I came little bit with my understanding, but I had no concept of doing media planning, brand planning for a brand like HUL, right? And I can't take my tech talk over there. So I had someone coming in from traditional planning, and it was like a joint effort. जो मेरे में कम है वो कोई और fulfill कर देता था. So it was more like everyone brought in some bits of the skill, and together we made a really good team. And I think that's the same approach that I have seen everywhere. So agency ecosystem especially, I don't see that there is any relation between what people are studying versus where they're getting. Yeah, it's very glamorous, it's very enticing. It wasn't the case in my journey. Like marketing I did not get pushed towards it. It just organically, I entered into this thing. It was never planned. But that's my story. I think I saw a series on Netflix where they were also trying to showcase what's happening in the IITs today. There are a lot of government jobs that, these are institutes. They're also trying to nurture talent to take up jobs like ecological engineering and lots more other things. What's going to happen in manufacturing, or for that matter, next sustainability kahan se aayegi. Kids are not interested in that anymore. Everyone wants to move more towards marketing, and they're asking for those courses. They're abandoning some of those courses as well. So it's a bit, as in, it's like the disco shiny ball. It's attracting everyone's attention, and content is somewhere to be influencing those decisions also, because everyone thinks it's so much fun to do. But we know that there's so much more besides fun. I've never made a ad film or anything of that sort. But I do engage with, I have a very nice, very healthy, thriving Instagram handle of my cat, who's an influencer, by the way. She garners 5 million, 6 million views on her videos, right? So that's more like a personal project.
We do a collab.
Yeah, I want to shift this entire roundtable to talk about cats. I have two. Then
Let's do this.
I also have two.
Let's
Great,
do this.
okay.
So anyhow,
Right,
it's
got
like it's just been so diverse, and I think I'll close it by saying that at least marketing has been very accommodating. I have seen different kinds of people around me, and till the time you're open to learning, knowing more things, and we are in an era of AI. किसी को नहीं पता, किसी ने सीखा नहीं उसके बारे में, but we are dealing with it.
If I may,
Please do.
There is a cynical take that I have on MBAs in marketing. What I found in large companies is when you're a brand manager at the beginning of your marketing career, you're the person who's closest to the consumer. So you're the voice of the consumer. So, there is value that you can add. Despite the fact that all the creative work, your agency partners have been on the brand for longer than an average brand manager. So agency understands the brand as well or better than you. And your media planners have been on the brand for longer than the brand manager. So, media planning is outsourced. It's done by someone else, and you just brief and judge the output. So your true role really is voice of the consumer. But as you go one level above a brand manager, now you have a brand manager reporting to you who's doing the job of doing the voice of the consumer. Media planning is still being done by someone. So is creative. So your job becomes, how do you internally align everything in the organization to get stuff done? So you become a glorified project manager. And that, I think, is the death of marketing spark in MBAs.
It's
that
wonderfully
it's
put.
difficult to get past that phase where, your prime job is coordination, which is not what MBA dreams are made of. And I think that's where a lot of falling off happens, where people tend to get disillusioned with that, especially in large companies with complex bureaucracies and hierarchies. It just gets tougher and tougher and tougher. And therefore, at least what I have found is a great way is to just land up in a different, with a different consumer set and just spend some time learning about them, because it keeps you grounded and it keeps you in touch with reality, rather than, just get caught in delivering projects where most of the time you're just doing coordination. So I think MBAs are priced because these internal push-pull, MBAs are able to handle and, get stuff done, and not so much for, sometimes the analytical skill or creative skill you can bring to the table is less useful in a large hierarchy. It's very different in a startup where you have to do everything. There's no agency, there's no, brand manager, you're everything. You're the CEO, but you also make your own cup of tea. But in a large company, that's where I sense that there is a there's a period in between where people drop off.
Nice.
Do you also feel it's like a checklist item sometimes?
To do that kind of a role, you mean?
No, more like education in large
hiring.
organization. It's more like a qualifier.
It is. It's just easier to shortlist resumes that way. You go to 5 campuses for hire is easier than going to 50. And which is why I think when I look back, some of my fondest marketing associations have been with people who moved into Unilever laterally from some other company, and hence came with some skill. Someone who came in from mind share and knew media planning really well, or someone who came in from a creative agency and understood creative process really well, was how I felt I could become a better rounded marketeer rather than know only, okay, this is what Byron Sharp says, this is your brand playbook, just now apply this playbook on 12 different campaigns for the year and you're through.
Lovely. I want to ask you a different question now, and again, I'd love for you all to answer in a percentage value, and then we'll go into what you'll think about it. Those are the following questions. Give me a percentage value of how much you would credit a lot of the external partners that you'll have worked with. It could be a creative director, it could be a business person in an agency, it could be a director of a film, but not people who are on your company's payroll, right? What percentage value would you credit them for who you are today?
I can go with it. I've always been on the partner side. I'll credit them 200%. I think my role also entails actually supporting and developing a partner ecosystem who could go ahead and deliver solutions for our brands. Some of these capabilities cannot be in-housed, or the brand's readiness may not be, or it may not be their priority today to in-house stuff. So there has to be a very thriving partner ecosystem who actually goes ahead and delivers these mandates. And sarvagun sampanna ek partner mein nahi milega.
Right.
So there has to be variety in terms of solution delivery.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'll answer that very differently. I think the way I've worked in the 4 years post my advertising era is we're a team of collaborators. We have internal stakeholders, and like he said earlier in one of his answers, that nobody is a generalist in marketing. There are specialists who come together on the brand side. Personally, I look after the creative comms and the brand and the creative strategy of all the projects we handle, and we bring it, and it depends from project to project. We bring it to a point sometimes where we now need the expertise of partners to kind of realize the work. Sometimes we're just like, hey, we just have a germ of a thought. Now we need, the entire organogram of an agency to help us build this campaign together. So the reliance is not a percentage for me. It's kind of it's a collaboration.
So any success, especially for a company, and let's say the way we have, is not necessarily a unidimensional way of how you can define success. There are many things to that, right? Sure, advertising has played a role, big role, and I'm only talking advertising. There's many other things that kind of played a role to the success of the company. Only for advertising, I'm talking only for advertising. My general philosophy has been good ads, credit the agencies more. Bad ads, you the client take more blame.
Can you repeat that, please? That, my friends,
But
There is a but.
the point I'm trying to make is, I'm only talking at advertising,
Yeah.
right? Only that small part.
Yes.
There's much more than advertising in how a brand becomes successful and all of it. It's important to kind of put that in the context. Good ads have extra credit for agencies, bad ads, because the brief finally is you, right? You kind of worked on it together. So that's my principle. But a lot of the times, people assume marketing and success of brands, if brands have become they become big, is only through advertising. No, advertising, in fact, Byron Sharp or many of those thinkers keep saying that advertising, in fact, is a weak force. We, by the way, in the marketing ecosystem thing, advertising is the strongest force of power in the world. Advertising is a weak force. I think Amit also mentioned about the fact that a success of a brand has many other things. Generally, one quip that I have with advertising and folks is, अपने आप को थोड़ा extra समझने लग जाते हैं. नहीं, सब लोगों का role है.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, I grew up with a guy called Prasun Joshi. So there's a story with Prasun where he said that, if I picked a music director or I picked a lyricist, and I'm going to focus on communication because I think the question is communication partners.
Sure.
my role was that I picked that person and allowed him to express himself or herself to do what they do well. So he did not discount himself from that responsibility, A, and as such, I don't know if the word is credit. I don't know if the word is glacier. But I think he was either the collaborator or the curator of it. And I don't think you should ever disappear from that role. I think that's our role. Everyone's. Your role when you're in the room judging an idea.
Right.
You will credit Pooja or Benaifer or anyone else who's done it, I'm sure, right? You're usually championing them. I notice how you all post. I watch everything I told you. You ask them to write a whole synopsis of what their thought process were, and then you champion that, right? But you're not invisible in that room. And I believe that that is our job to do, right? If Divaya is writing something, then I don't have to post it. Because today posting is paramount, right? He has to post it. If he wants to mention me in it, that's on him. I don't really have to post it at all. I just have to be in the room to make sure I clear the way for him or pick him, because I think he's the right guy for the job or the right team that we work with, or the right director or the right whatever music director or whatever, right? But I can't not do that job. And yes, I am the orchestrator of the chaos. If it's good shit, it's good shit. If it's bad shit, it's on me. If it's good shit, yes, it is on me, but I don't need to go seek the credit. If it's got to come to us, it'll come to us, or whoever else needs to take it will take it.
You know, it's so funny that both of y'all like spoke about credit, because in all of the general issues that exist between, let's say, brands and all of their external partners, right? The credit culture part is the easiest one to fix.
Yeah.
It is free to fix. It takes no money to fix it. And in your own understanding, yes, I think each of y'all have had wonderful success stories with a bunch of external partners. It is also true that at a larger industry level, if I were to do a then versus now, it feels like we are in an environment of slightly lower trust than we used to operate, or at least are the stories that we hear about, you know, how thick clients and creative people used to be, right? And pretty much that we'd have each other's ear, and you know, everyone, the CMOs sharing their deepest, darkest, you know, this thing, no NDA, no nothing, just blind person to person trust. We don't operate in that same environment of trust. How do you think we got here? What part of the blame do you think the marketing fraternity also shares to where we are today?
It's an interesting question.
From personal experience, I don't know that trust has come down or is lacking. So I'm not able to contextualize your question very well.
Y'all mostly don't work with agencies in your current role, right?
Yeah, most of communication, like writing, etc., is done internally. But we work very closely with Thought Over Design, who leads all our packaging, all our thinking behind our mixes, etc. And their team is just an extension of our team. There's nothing that we do that hasn't passed by, you know, their eyes, and we get feedback from them before doing. So I'm yet to experience this. I've had maybe a charmed life so far in marketing. Yet to experience this, hence finding it difficult to relate to your premise and hence, you know, build on it.
I think how we got here is, I don't think it's a lack of trust. I think it's, in an entire campaign, there are so many special skills that are needed. And I think agency models have also evolved from a point where you had these monolithic agencies, and the output that was needed was one big brand campaign. And you know, now you have social and digital agencies, and that divide still exists. You have meme marketing, you know, specialists. And when it comes to deciding channel mixes, and when it comes, like he said, the orchestrator, I think you go to the specialists. I think the AOR model is also dying, not because of lack of trust, it's because you don't see value in paying an agency, you know, the retainer model. Now it's all become more project to project, right?
Right.
So I think that is probably one core macro reason. But I still see a lot of partnerships born out of just people-to-people connections, right? People who have worked together in the past, who have kind of built something together, and it's that kind of understanding that I think I also see a lot of that still existing.
Again, as Sriram mentioned, we hadn't had agencies where trust was a factor. And this is not only in the creative side. So we work with a lot of player managements. And, right. And in fact, we've been working with only one. Same on sponsorship management. On the creative sides, we have directors who've done multiple campaigns again and again for us. So I don't see that as a problem. I think one of the issue that I think Amit spoke about that this attribution, na, ki boss, maine kuch kiya hai, show me the result of it. If I don't have the results, because the tenure of the people in the organization, you don't necessarily can take, okay, listen, this is going to take long time to kind of figure an answer to what your efforts are. It's a little bit of a lag. Most of our efforts are going to be found out through lagging indicators. People don't understand this part of it. There are lagging indicators, there are trailing indicators, there are leading indicators. These are things that we don't necessarily, we want quick answers for everything. We want simple, so there's a saying, right? We want simple answers to complex things, and we complicate things for simple tasks. So that's how this attribution business has really sort of put a lot of problems in our life. मेरे को भाई answer दे दो. Has this given this lift? Has this given that lift? What effort of yours, this year's social post, this year's social campaign gave you this? And I think this hamster wheel has to kind of slow down, my opinion. And then you will kind of bring a little more trust.
Nice.
I think in my experience, what I've seen is, I wouldn't say it's a trust factor, but more to do with the pressure on marketing. Because it's always qualified as a cost center. And like you also mentioned, the tenures are changing. So it's a race, the cost center versus who's done things or attained things faster. That's where the struggle comes in. So I call it the leash of cost. That makes the relationship a little more strained. It does not give it the breathing ground that is required for us to nurture that partnership, that little bit of fun element that we used to experience as agencies, where when we're doing a campaign, we're celebrating. I remember, as in from my experience of working on Pure-It, breaking the seasonality, the amount of joy we had just doing that particular piece of work, of finding insights, instead of making it just a monsoon-led brand to something which is an all-season brand, and how we all celebrated after that, right? The brand manager really endorsed the work that we did. Credit baate gaye the sab mein, right? So that's trust, that's love, that's the chemistry that I was talking about. But right now, like you also mentioned, it's very project based. कौन idea सबसे अच्छा ला रहा है, कौन से cost पे? So somewhere it's become a little more Excel sheet exercise somewhere, and we know that we always have within the brands, there is another partner that we work with, which is the procurement, right? So that's a game changer in that decision making.
That's a game killer. This one. No, but I don't know if some of you all have heard of this page. There's a page on Instagram called Client Circus. Have you all seen it? Client Circus.
Back in the day, it used to be my client says, I think. Something
like that.
Yeah.
But this one,
I get the sentiment.
Right. So they go a step ahead. There's also like a very full calling out of bad client practices type thing that happens. And it's not subjective bad things. Huh? It's stuff I'm sure this room will completely agree. I'm talking about clients who don't pay their agencies on time or ever. Right? They fish for ideas, pitch, keep fishing for ideas. They plagiarize stuff that they have gotten from. So it's properly something that I'm sure all of y'all will agree is terrible without a discussion, right? But this, I think what is, I mean, it's a what do you say? It's kind of like a a bad thing, but which has gotten the agency world to a better place, is a very active culture of calling out bad stuff when it happens. You can't afford to be a terrible creative director who steals ideas from their team and still feel like you're going to keep moving up in your career for too long. And it's a very good thing that every creative director today is scared of, oh my God, will I get properly called out by people for repeatedly, committing professional offenses like this, so to speak. That kind of a culture doesn't exist in marketing too much. Is it going to take a PR nightmare to solve how common these problems still are? Okay, and or can good marketers like you have a halo effect on some of these guys who deserve a special place in hell?
There's too much choice.
There's too much
Choice answers your previous question as well. There's just too much choice.
So should we all become an industry that is smaller but fewer with better people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are no repercussions.
Yeah.
That's also where lack of trust comes from. If this doesn't work, there's always someone else who can do it. If it takes too long, it's someone else will do it faster, cheaper, maybe better, maybe not. Sometimes you don't need better. Sometimes you just have media to deploy it. It's fine, it works. And the same applies to this. So shit hits the fan, so what? Just get someone else to do it. And today, how long is it going to last in public memory? 24 hours? 36? 48 if it's really bad. Really, really bad. Right?
Right.
So, and there are ways to drown it out. The IT cell teaches all of us. You can learn that. I don't think there's anything to fear. I'm being a cynic, but that's
No,
the truth.
but I know for a fact that if among creative directors, someone who steals an idea from their team, that person is an outcast. Is a person who doesn't
is this
pay
only
their...
a marketing problem? Is that I've seen this across different industries. I've seen this across, people say this about scientists, people say this about literature work, people say this. So, it happens. It's
Sorry,
just human issue.
Let me keep aside the plagiarism point. That's just one of it. But the general other bad practices we were talking about, the delayed payment and the rest of that and all of that.
So I can take a stab at answering it from a practitioner side. And mostly because I've been on service side as an agency, margins are shrinking so much that even if a situation of this sort arises, we let go of it. Again, if they'll call, we'll go, because we also have to manage our P&Ls. So I think it's both sides. So there might be bad practices that might be happening, but it's also that the agency side or the servicing side sometimes does not put up a strong front. And this is something that goes all the way up to leadership, because that's where the relationship really needs to be tight for someone to feel that something could go off, right? And there could be repercussions of it. And now, like you said, it's not in close bounds, something that could actually become a PR nightmare.
Yeah.
But having said that, from the agency's point of view, even if this has happened, we'll still go and present.
To be fair, organization's culture sort of, if you are a big guy, and if the big guy's culture is, you should be fair and supportive and not be
Then
this.
it trickles down.
Then it works.
That makes
Then it
sense.
works. Hopefully, and I'm pretty on the side of what Mayur said. We could be cynic about this. It is a tough world. It's a tough world. There's too many choices. I don't know what to say. We just have to be lucky. Hopefully, karma catches up with some people. Luck plays an extremely important part, and karma. That's what it will be.
No, look, the music industry took care of itself at one point. While I'm being a cynic, I must say that at one point the Roshans were taken on by a music director who went after them for plagiarism. That's just one topic, of course. But that strengthened the music business today like none else. You cannot not pay the music industry what you owe them. They will come after you. You can't use music. The cost for edits, the cost for long-term rights, everything. You know that there's a cost to pay as someone who does this all the time, right? And you know that you have to go with the process that's been set. So I think someone went after a big guy at one point, and it helped the whole fraternity. maybe that's what needs to happen here at some point.
Yeah.
To answer
I
you.
think I also think it is the service industry dynamic.
Mm.
You know, I think agencies get labeled and called out. I don't know if there is a sort of unsaid understanding on the other side that, but it seems like there is that, oh, that agency is slow, or that agency is
Yeah.
difficult to work with, or they don't have the best quality ideas. I don't think if it's the reverse where clients get called out, or that client is too, they don't pay on time, or they're difficult to work with. Because at the end of the day, it's not unified. Everyone's kind of trying to grab each other's lunch.
Yeah. Fair. I think not paying for pitches just feels like a power move at this point, because we know for a fact that there is no real financial implication of paying for an agency's time and effort to pitch. And secondly, that is the only way in which agencies are going to be able to start paying directors for treatment notes. and so that, that this thing kind of goes on, right? Where do y'all generally stand on this practice of a humongous multi-agency pitch, right? Things that take like 4 to 6 months, you narrow people down from 23 agencies to 11 to 5 to 3 to 1.5 to whatever. That entire process being an unpaid one for anyone competing, feels like we're over that. Are we on the same page?
I think the most abused currency or payout method in this ecosystem is the time and effort. And it also gives that clearly, it's assumed that pitches are for free. I work with a lot of large consultancies as well. When it comes to those consultancies, they are paid, but not the agencies, right? So there's this perception कि इनको भी ज़रूरत है.
Right.
So ये तो आ ही जाएंगे. So somewhere that's the rhetoric. धंधा चाहिए तो करो. You'll have to come and present. So that's the notion that exists. I personally feel it needs to change because the way service industry works is we will not hire ahead till the time we don't have a projection on how much money are we going to make, a business coming in. So we would actually, while managing our P&L, we would try to aim for, we do client scoping, we try and understand, we have our aims that we want to do. And it's the same set of people who are working on other clients and actually going far beyond their allocated job descriptions, who would come and pitch in into these pitches as well. So if we have such complex process where there are multiple rounds we are trying to talk about, we are scrambling that workload in the same resourcing. And I feel the output will be the kinds, like how much pressure we put on them, right? Output bhi वैसे ही होगा.
In all of my interactions with the people on this table, right, I know this is not the point of view that you all share in your ecosystem, but then again, I think my endeavor is how can these kind of points of view become the status quo points of view about in the industry. And again, like, let me caveat by saying, I think there is, at the other side of this, I've also seen that for a lot of agencies, creative people especially, if you are able to work on a pitch, win the brand, and then start, you are starting with a much more optimistic, I know the ideas I want to execute for the next 1 year kind of thing. So you get into it with a lot of things in your head already. And I've seen that that's actually helpful. What I'm asking about is very specifically the nature of the ginormous exercise that is supposed to galvanize a whole this thing, that form of exercise still remaining unpaid in a lot of conglomerates.
So I'll be very honest, I don't have such a view of itna bada process hota hai.
Sure.
I've not had an exposure, honestly. So I'm not the best guy to comment on it.
I can talk about it. I think most people don't really know what they want. That's why they mount it. There are only a few elephants left who can mount such a pitch, to be honest, in this business, right?
Right.
On the corporate side.
Right.
Most agencies won't line up. I mean, agencies will line up agencies will line up for many things. But I think a large pitch of the nature that we're talking, there are only a few elephants left who can ask for that.
Correct.
Right? You can count those in your hands pretty much, right? With your fingers. So I guess if I can wear an agency hat and say, you know what, that one's okay to line up for. Right? But equally, I can be a womb and say, and they've done it to me, which I respect them for, by the way. Say, hey guys, do you want to pitch for this? And they've just sent me a news article that said the womb doesn't pitch. I have a lot of respect for them for that. I don't think it's chip on the shoulder. I think it's absolutely too cool to do that.
And a pattern of what I'm hearing from a lot of this conversation is, I think most of the time the no's are taken with a huge amount of respect, and like I get it why you're this thing, right? So
absolutely.
And if there are more no's that are being said by the ecosystem, the marketing fraternity is willing to listen and have a dialogue. And
It makes me very aware and very conscious when I step out that A, I should have the money to pay for it, or B, not call a pitch and just be sure of who I want to go with, and that's it. Brief them and then work with them. That's what's
Always
happened to me over time,
Yeah.
at least, having done that.
It's been a tough thing in my head a little bit. Here's the facts are, the Indian ad industry has done significantly better at Cannes Lion than the Indian film fraternity has at the Cannes Film Festival. Over the years, we barely get a screening or two. Here we won Agency of the Year. That town should be known for our advertising industry and not our film industry a whole lot more. We don't get as much press as the film industry, so cool. We're not the heroes yet in a general public sense, right? When it comes to what happens in that town. However, I also think it's in a way it's because not enough Indian brands see Creative Marketer of the Year as something that they want for themselves, and as the most prestigious title that can be given to any marketing team from around the world in our industry, right? It feels like a no-brainer for the marketing fraternity to overall come together. We've built more brands in the last 2 decades than we've ever done before. We have some 5 trillion goal that we want to achieve by in the next 5 years. Winning here and winning together as a country is a huge signal of how great our economy is doing. Like at a very simple level, it's a great global signal of that. And a bunch of creative heads keep talking about this, how do we get together as a region? And I don't think we can fully get together as a region unless we know that our clients are also, that we're kind of going for the same goal. But I do know that there is a slightly cynical vocabulary around awards in general that exists within marketing. And it does have a very, just let them kind of play with it type thing, right? And it's that attitude that even has given birth to something called scam work. Scam work needn't have existed if the marketing fraternity's attitude about that is very different, right? How do you see the next few years in this panel?
Start with the marketers, hardcore ones.
You're also imagining.
A little more than me.
No. Okay, so we've had few awards, and I'm not necessarily being a cynic. We don't enter awards. Okay, we genuinely don't enter awards. Sound slightly pompous in that way if I'm saying this, but eventually we have 230 million registered users, so and that's award enough. With your consumer, Swiggy is a household name. Viacom, JioCinema is a big household name. Jio's a 900 million consumer base. They don't need awards. Why do only marketers feel the need for awards? Why? I don't see.
Awards, not even marketers.
Sure, maybe. But I'm saying, why do we have to take this mantle on of country ko represent karna chahiye? I honestly don't see the need for.
Those who have tasted blood, though, want to do it. There are a few. It's not mainstream, though. I agree with him.
I don't know. I mean,
I think it's
this?
not
A bit of an
positioning.
echo chamber exercise.
It is an echo chamber exercise, and I've been on both sides, so I think for an agency, it's far more important to position themselves, and But I will look at Voice of Hunger and I say, great work. Who did it? Let's go partner. Not because it won an award. And now I can say that from this side, because we all just want meaningful work, not because it's won awards, but if it happens to win an award, why not?
Sure.
Wow. I have 2 points.
1 second.
Sorry.
you just some explicit. What was
I want my agencies to go up there. My media agency sat across me just 2 weeks ago and said, you know what, I think we've done pretty good over the last few months. We're going to pick up a few more gongs. So you're not going to pick up a few more gongs. This is the number you're going to go and pick up. I'm giving you the number.
Great.
Because when I give you a number, I know that you will think so much differently from your normal task. My media agency, for example, is my biggest enabler. I'd be an idiot not to realize that. So I have to incentivize them to do whatever it takes to help achieve better ideas, more innovative ideas. They are going to do BAU media work for me any which way. For any client worth their salt, whether it's Dream11, whether it's The Whole Truth, whether it's Jio, Google, shitload of money gets spent. They're going to do that right? So, but I'm actually going to call all of my partners and say, no, I'm not going to enter. It's too much work to do.
That's the thing.
It's a lot of work. I wish it wasn't.
No.
But I want them to win.
Who doesn't want? It's just that it's a business, and it is. It's not like because it's a business we don't want it. The fact that if you want to strive for something and want great work out there, the be all and end all is not the award. I appreciate the way he said it though, that it's a way to enthuse your partners and say that, you set a benchmark and say that nothing less than this. But then if it's just in the service of that,
correct,
is where it becomes a problem.
So again, we've had agencies, and I'm not trying to be a contrarian. Look at the awards. There are like 500 categories that are available. They are not meaningful. You can't recognize one award from the other.
So his question is very specific,
right?
So can Marketeer of the Year?
No, even can. You should go to the list of the categories. They're like, you can easily enter 200 categories in there. Just split as many hairs as you can, and you can keep entering. I know what's their credibility. To build incentivize agencies, media agencies, build commission business. Okay? X savings, you get this. X deal, you get this. X thing on for social, you get this. I think money is the biggest motivator. Money can be the biggest incentive. And I'm not saying this, and I understand the privilege that we have. Without a doubt, not discounting the privilege. But I just feel, let's do the job as well, right?
I think it's quite telling that the culture around it has made you think of it as an either or, and that's where I think creative people are to take. I think we should take most of the blame for that. It comes back to our previous thing of why does the best work have the least money? Oh, I've done something amazing. Let me just put it out.
Echo chamber of the A&M media. Who reads the A&M media?
I'll give you an example. Sorry, had we not pushed our, in this case, media again. I don't mean to be repetitive about media. I could talk about social media agencies as well. But, or any other, had we not pushed them to go this way, we would never have an ad which smelt of mangoes, where we had our biggest weekend of sales, not a day, right? We're talking quick commerce here, we're talking hours here. So big weekend of sale is...
Sure.
Yeah, out of that. So I can win an FA on it, I can win an innovation award on it, I can win a creative award on it.
The mangoes ad came from the media agency?
They enabled it, it came from... But without them pushing for that, you can never release that ad. You know it. You can think of 10 different innovations. Unless you have agency support to do it, you can never put it out there. It's either going to take too long, it's either going to cost too much, or it's just not doable, right? So I hear you and I understand. I empathize on like almost every which way, and hence I say what I say, at least from my point of view.
I just have I think somewhere this is linked to the previous question on pitches. I think the link is evaluating good creative work is really difficult. It's difficult to be certain about what's great creative work in a public sphere. Like as a marketeer, I have market share and I have, did I achieve my margins? Did I grow by a certain amount? Did I grow penetration? There's so many KPIs to show that what I did worked. And creatively, because there is lack of reliable metrics that everyone agrees works, awards is one proxy. How many pitches did you win this year is another proxy of your creative prowess. And hence it becomes of outsized importance probably to the agencies. And as a brand, I don't feel that same kind of urge for myself most of the time, because I'm not in it to win the game in media. I'm looking at how well does my brand do, what does my company think of my contribution in making my brand grow. Fine, and that battle is either won or lost by the time award entries are going in, right? So I don't feel that sense of urgency. My agency might, because that might be route, to getting newer clients, or that might be route to being able to charge more from existing clients. And hence, there is a disparity in how much each party needs it. And I would agree with, Mayur's take here that if I could do this for my agency by, enabling them to enter awards and win awards, even if it costs some extra bandwidth at my end to help fill all those applications in, etc., I would do it. Because there are many places where I can't solve all the problems of the client-agency relationship, ecosystem by myself. It's beyond my power. But this is the least I could do by saying, okay, if this is work that we've done, let's go do it. Let's go talk about it. Let's go win awards for this. If that helps you, that makes me happy because we are partners. I want you to grow. I want you to make money because that's when I get your best attention on my brand as well. The only slightly bothersome part sometimes could be, this will win awards even though it might not make impact in market. So let's go ahead and, also spend some money on this. I've had principal issues with it in the past when I was younger and more naive. Over a period of time, I've realized that it is, in the larger scheme of things, a small price to pay. That if doing that means I get, the best attention on the creative that actually earns me my salary, then, by all means, it's a very efficient spend.
So it's like in my agency career, we used to get these as goals from our marketers because, like you said, why not have goals? So that's one, so that we are striving for like really good work rather than doing some scintillating work under the garb of innovation, trying to get some awards over there. The other part was, like you mentioned, agencies actually showcase that as badge of validation for sourcing new business. So whenever we enter into new pitches, we do show that this is our credential. It becomes part of the credentials. And it gives a lot of credibility for the work that's been done. And from a media perspective, media needs creative for that story to land. So usually these awards, when we talk about it, it's also somewhere allows them to expand, what skill sets are they taking or what sort of work can they do for the clients. So they're trying to add new flair to the and new sources of revenue for the business when they take these awards and show them as credentials. And I think one really good thing, and this is because I was really young in my agency stint, I saw it being used very effectively for building some careers. Like it's actually built careers of a lot of people. It's showcased some people who've really come out with, they've been recognized for the talent, the work that they've done. So it's been part of a people process as well.
It's built careers for people who've also not built brands.
Yeah.
Only a shelf full of awards.
Exactly. And well, it has a flip side as well. Like sometimes they knew what will work, like a tearjerker would work or something of that sort. It was also a little bit gamed, or the formula was reused several times till the time someone else came in with even more path-breaking idea. Right, so multiple facets to this, but I think it kept the agency also very motivated to try and strive harder to put up good work.
I think it's our job. We have an in-house team. We have agency partners. I think my job isn't just to do good work. My job is to also create greatness for the people who do the work. Yeah. And if I'm not spurring them on, I'm not doing my job. In my opinion, I'm not doing it for any other reason. I think it's a great retention tool, if you ask me. I think it helps people build careers, sometimes, as Shagun said, in nefarious ways. But then it builds an Aditya who was the agency of the year, and hence he pointed it out at Cannes.
He's the 1%.
And so be it. That's how it should be.
My plug came in at 1 hour 58 minutes.
I had to call it out.
This, yeah.
But that's what's necessary, I think.
Fair enough. Okay, that brings us to the almost end of everything that we discussed. I think it's a couple of hours ago, I remember starting this off by saying I want to find nuance in our line of work. We've become too much about hot takes and 50-word summaries of extremely complex things. And I love that each of y'all clearly are not on the same page about a bunch of things, and it's been very refreshing to see how there's been a ton of disagreement with a ton of respect on this, and it is testament to how broad and deep your discipline really is. And there's I like to keep saying that the people who speak broken English are the ones who ensure that English isn't broken.
Yeah.
As a language.
Absolutely.
You don't see people speaking broken Latin. It's a dead language, right? So I think all of these different touches that each of y'all have added, and it's a lovely insight into how y'all go about your work. Thank you for all of that. I want to end today by you're doing this pretty much for this one person in your head is the consumer. You all have studied her or him or both very, very deeply. And I don't know if y'all outside focus group discussions or like informal things where someone's like, oh, I order from Swiggy, oh, I watch on Jio. Outside that, I don't know if y'all have gotten the opportunity to say something directly to your consumer. So let's do that today. Assume your consumer is watching. Assume someone who loves Whole Truth, buys Whole Truth, loves watching stuff on Jio, so on and so forth. They're watching. And if you could just tell something to your consumer, heartfelt, from marketer to consumer, which they can't get pissed off about, what would it be? Sriram?
I would say thank you for your custom. It keeps us going, and keep holding us to the highest possible standards that you can visualize. That's the standard that we want to meet and beat consistently.
Keep being difficult, because that makes us work harder.
Thank you for everything, and keep loving sports as I do, and it'll be good fun.
10 years ago, I became a consumer of the brand I work on today. I love the aesthetic of it. I love how it just works. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's not loud. It just gets stuff done very easily and simply, and today I'm lucky enough to be working for it.
So be curious, keep searching.
What a ball, what a bowler. Thank you, everyone. This has been amazing fun and coming here, and thank you, everyone who watched today. Hope it was fun.
Thank you for all the
Thanks so much.
nuanced
Thank you.
and deep, enriching questions.
Thank you
Really
so
enjoyed
much.
this.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.